To a lot of people, the roguelike genre in gaming is one of the best there is, simply because their mechanics are just so good. They give you that satisfying combat, cool upgrades, and that addictive loop, which would have you questioning why you're still playing them at 2 a.m. Though, very few of these games have a compelling story to fit alongside its very addictive gameplay. Not many of the games in the genre allow you to care, fewer to even make death feel meaningful, and makes failure feel like progress. And almost none of them turn the simple act of losing into one of the best storytelling devices in gaming. Hades achieves this. It's a masterpiece that has not only mastered the roguelike genre, but also added a story so powerful that it makes you want to keep progressing. This is a game where every death matters, every conversation means something, and every escape attempt feels like you're slowly peeling apart an entire broken family that has been emotionally imploding for centuries. It's stylish, it's ridiculously replayable, and it has some of the best character writing in gaming. This is Hades. Released in 2020 by Supergiant Games, the same studio behind Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre. Even before Hades, Supergiant already had a reputation for incredible art direction, amazing music, and surprisingly strong writing. But Hades felt like the moment where all of that came together. It's an isometric action roguelike where you play as Zagreus, the son of Hades, trying to escape the underworld and reach the surface. Every time you fail, you die, get dragged back home, and start all over again. We all know this concept very well by now, but what makes Hades Hades is its story. Every run is part of the narrative, every death pushes the plot forward, every failed escape teaches you something new about the people around you. And suddenly, a genre that usually treats death as a reset turns death into progression unlike any in its genre. The concept isn't something which could be pulled off easily either. It only works because of the writing. It specifically works for Zagreus himself as such a strong protagonist. He isn't angry. He isn't edgy. He isn't trying to destroy the world. He just wants answers. He wants to know why his mother is gone. He wants to understand why his father is the way he is. And underneath all the sarcasm and confidence, Zagreus is basically just a wounded kid trying to figure out what family even means. The plot is the second hook. Roguelikes are drawn into people due to its addictive gameplay. But here, with Hades, we are given another reason. And what a reason it is. Zagreus, the wounded child in a broken family. Zagreus is one of my favorite protagonists in gaming because he feels relatable. He's funny, charming, and confident on the surface. But underneath all of that is someone who grew up in a deeply broken home. And the way he handles that damage says everything about the game. His relationship with his parents is the perfect example. He treats Persephone and Hades completely differently. For Persephone, he fights through literal hell over and over again just to get a few minutes with her before natural causes force him back to the underworld. Even after she tells him not to come back, he still does. Why? Because he needs that connection. He needs to know his mother. He needs closure. But with Hades, it's the opposite. resistance at every turn, arguments, resentment, and eventually an actual fight to the death. And what makes this brilliant is that it doesn't just show favoritism, it shows how Zagreus understands pain. He gives Persephone more grace, more forgiveness, because he sees absence and cruelty differently. Hades was there. Hades was the one taking his frustrations out on him. Hades was the one making home feel hostile. To Zagreus, Hades was a threat to his stability. And yet, Zagreus still has this incredible capacity to forgive. The writing makes Zagreus such a strong character as he chooses to accept, forgive, and move on. Though he absolutely can hold on to grudges, and when he does, it benefits the story. As kind-hearted as Zagreus is, after years of being mocked and emotionally shut out, he assumes the worst of Hades. He expects bad motives because that's what experience taught him. But when Hades isn't directly in front of him, Zagreus still hopes. There's this incredible line the first time he reaches Persephone where he says, "Now that I found you, maybe he'll just let me come back." That line tells us enough. Even after everything, part of him still hopes his father might choose love over pride. It's heartbreaking, but very real. It imitates what makes family pain so complicated. You can resent someone and still desperately want them to be better. That's Zagreus. He's not escaping because he hates his family. He's escaping because he wants one. And then there's Hades himself, a great and well-written father to contrast Zagreus. They could have made him into a simple two-dimensional villain. They could have made him cruel, made him evil, but that's not what Hades does. He's not evil, he's damaged. Hades is a fatalist. He assumes the worst possible outcome because in his mind, that's the safest option. If pain is inevitable, then at least he can control how it arrives. He believes suffering is part of life, and if he has to be miserable so other people are protected, then that's just the price he is willing to pay. As noble as that sounds, we can see how destructive that is. Because Hades will do painful things even when he doesn't need to. Not because he wants to hurt people, but because he literally cannot imagine another way. He lies, he isolates, he pushes people away. He sabotages himself constantly. Even the lie about Persephone is devastating. He lets Zagreus believe the worst version of him, that he kidnapped her, because protecting the truth matters more to him than protecting his own relationship with his son. That is such a deeply broken way to love someone. And it fits Hades well, because Hades has lived through loss after loss. He genuinely does not believe he gets to have a happy family. He thinks closeness leads to loss, that if he lets himself have peace, it'll be taken away. So instead, he creates distance first. He becomes the problem before life can do it for him. That's self-sabotage. That's trauma. And the tragedy is, he does love Zagreus. He just has no idea how to show it. So instead, he becomes the obstacle Zagreus has to fight every single run, literally. Then there's Persephone. She's the emotional center of the whole game. Because while Zagreus is the child trying to understand the family, and Hades is the father destroying it by accident, Persephone becomes the one capable of finally healing it. She isn't perfect, that's important, She also comes from dysfunction, an overbearing mother, a life where she didn't really get to make her own choices, and a relationship with Olympus that clearly left scars. She couldn't fix her own relationship with her mother while living inside that pressure. And when everything with Zagreus happened, leaving felt like the only way she could survive. That choice hurt everyone, but it also gave her space to heal. Because when Zagreus finally finds her, she isn't this flawless, mythical mother waiting with all the answers. She's still figuring things out too. She needs him to do a lot of the groundwork first. She needs time. She needs honesty. She needs the chance to come back on her own terms. But once she understands what needs to happen, Persephone becomes the person who can actually pull everyone together. She sees the path forward. She sees what Hades and Zagreus both need. And when Hades says, "Not even you can fix a broken family, Persephone," that line hits hard because he believes it. He genuinely thinks broken things stay broken, but Persephone doesn't. After time away from both Olympus and the underworld, she developed something incredibly important: self-assurance. She comes back stronger, calmer, certain, and that certainty is what finally starts changing everything. She isn't just returning as a wife or a mother. She returns as someone capable of rebuilding a home. The supporting cast aren't just there as filler either. Take Nyx. She's basically Zagreus' real parent for most of his life. She's calm, wise, and quietly one of the most important people in the story. She helps him when Hades won't. She gives him the mirror of night. She protects him. She guides him. She tells him hard truths. Nyx represents unconditional support in a game full of emotional walls. She's not flashy. She's just there. And sometimes being there matters most. Even characters like Megaera, Thanatos, Achilles, Patroclus, Orpheus, Eurydice, Dusa, and even Cerberus contribute to this feeling that the House of Hades is a living place. It feels like a home. Complicated, yes. Dysfunctional, yes. But at the end of the day, it's still home. And that's why dying never feels like failure. Because coming back means seeing these people again. Mechanically, Hades is already excellent, but what makes a genius is how the mechanics reinforce the story. Every run starts the same. You leave the House of Hades. You fight through Tartarus, then Asphodel, then Elysium, then the Temple of Styx, then hopefully, finally, the surface. And yes, technically, you're doing the same thing over and over, but it never feels repetitive because the game constantly reframes that repetition. Every death means new dialogue, new relationship progression, new unlocks, new story beats, new emotional payoffs. Failure is content. That is such a brilliant design. Most roguelites punish failure, but Hades rewards it. You die and think, okay, cool. What does everyone say now? That's absurd, and it works. Because the game understands that progression is psychological as much as mechanical. You're not just getting stronger, you're getting closer. Closer to Persephone, closer to understanding Hades, closer to repairing the house. That makes every run matter. Now, let's talk gameplay. Because if the combat sucked, none of this would matter. Thankfully, Hades absolutely nails it. The boon system is genius. As you progress through a run, the Olympian gods offer blessings that completely change how Zagreus plays. Zeus gives chain lightning and aggressive burst damage. Athena gives deflect and survivability. Artemis gives crit-focused insanity. Dionysus lets you poison everything. Ares turns combat into spinning blend of violence. And then duo boons show up and suddenly your build becomes nonsense in the best possible way. You stop planning and start praying. And I mean that literally. Every door becomes a gamble. Every choice matters. You ask yourself, do I take survivability? Do I chase a specific build? Do I risk chaos? Do I spend now or save for Karen? That constant decision making is what keeps the loop addictive. It's not just combat, it's a strategy. Then we have the weapons, 6 infernal arms. And somehow, every single one feels like a completely different game. The Stygian blade, the eternal spear, the shield of chaos, the heart-seeking bow, the twin fists, the adamant rail. And yes, the fact that Hades gives you a gun in Greek mythology is still hilarious. Every weapon changes your rhythm, your priorities, your mindset. Bow runs feel patient, fists feel aggressive, shield runs make you feel immortal. Rail runs make you feel like you're breaking mythology on purpose. And then aspects take it even further. Suddenly, your favorite weapon becomes something entirely different. That replayability is insane. Between weapons, boons, room combinations, keepsakes, companions, and mirror upgrades, there are so many ways to play that even after dozens of hours, the game still feels fresh. That's incredibly hard to achieve. And Hades, man, does Hades make it feel so effortless. Visually, Hades is just gorgeous. Supergiant's hand-drawn style is instantly recognizable. Everything looks intentional. Every character portrait, every environment, every effect, every menu. Nothing ever feels generic. Tartarus feels oppressive. Asphodel feels hostile. Elysium feels arrogant. The Temple of Styx feels like anxiety in a hallway fork. And every god looks exactly like how they should. Not necessarily mythologically accurate, but emotionally accurate. Ares looks dangerous. Dionysus looks like he's about to ruin your life in a fun way. Athena looks like she files taxes responsibly. And the soundtrack by Darren Korb is unbelievable. The music doesn't just support the game, it drives it. It makes boss fights feel legendary. It makes escapes feel urgent. It makes repeated runs feel exciting instead of exhausting. And yes, everyone remembers the first time they heard Good Riddance. Because of course they do. The song alone should have won awards. Now, even masterpieces have their flaws, and Hades does have a couple. The biggest one for me is room and enemy variety. Within each biome, after enough runs, you absolutely start recognizing everything. The rooms blur together. The enemy types repeat. You know exactly which annoying satyr is about to ruin your day. That repetition is part of the genre, sure, But I do think just a few more room types and enemy variants would have pushed the game even closer to perfection. Especially because the art is so good that you want more excuses to experience it. The second thing is the heat system. I like the idea. I actually think it's smart. Post-game challenge modifiers are great, but the execution feels weirdly grindy. Especially with how progression tracks across weapons. It can feel less like a meaningful challenge and more like an administrative suffering. It's not bad, it just feels like the one system that's slightly less elegant than everything else around it. Still though, these are small complaints, very small, because the foundation is so ridiculously strong. What makes Hades special years later is that it doesn't just succeed. It changed expectations. Now, when people play roguelikes, they expect stronger writing, better character progression, more meaningful death loops. Because Hades proved you can have all of that. It modernized the genre. It made people who normally don't even like roguelikes suddenly obsessed with one. And honestly, Greek mythology helped a lot too. That setting was genius. People already know these gods. They already have emotional context, so the game gets to play with expectations immediately. It attracts people who would never normally touch a roguelike. And then the gameplay hooks them. That's smart design. For me personally, especially on the Nintendo Switch, Hades became dangerous. This was the perfect road trip game, which kept me glued to my screen for hours. My first successful escape took 33 attempts, and when it finally happened, it felt incredible. Not because I beat the game, but because it felt like I had earned that moment. That's what Hades does so well. Victory feels personal and earned. Hades is a masterpiece because it understands something most games forget. Gameplay and story should not be separate things. They should strengthen one another. Every mechanic in Hades serves the emotional core. Every death matters. Every run matters. Every conversation matters. It's a game about escaping hell. But really, it's about trying to fix a family. It's about trauma, forgiveness, pride, distance, love, and the terrifying possibility that maybe broken things can be repaired. Zagreus wants a family. Hades thinks he doesn't deserve one. Persephone believes maybe they can still build one. And somehow, through hundreds of deaths, boss fights, and godly upgrades, that becomes one of the most emotionally satisfying stories in modern gaming. That's not easy. That's not normal. That's masterpiece level design. Hades didn't just make me love a roguelike. It made me care about every single person waiting for me when I died. But that's just me. I want to know what you think. Do you think Hades is a masterpiece? What was your favorite weapon? Were you a shield person, a bow person, or were you one of those terrifying twin fist players? And how many runs did it take you before Hades personally humbled you? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Controller Culture for more videos like this. Whether it's masterpieces, reviews, or just passionate discussions about games we love. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you all in the next one.